Alexander Isak. James, where's he going to be September 1st?
Well, I mean, if I had to say now, I'd say Liverpool. But the way he's gone about this, I feel for him to some extent because I think he's been very, very badly advised. I think one of the aspects that is a little bit underplayed in this actually is that my understanding of this is that he's got multiple agents involved, and I think one of them has made promises to him that the other two were not quite so keen to make, and that's essentially that, don't worry son, we'll get you out of here. And I think the other two were kind of thinking, well, actually this is going to be a lot more difficult. We know Newcastle's position, and also he negotiated a 6-year deal for Isak 3 years ago, so he's got 3 years left on his contract. That's the biggest mistake of all here. If he'd not signed that 6-year deal, say he'd signed a 4 or a 5-year deal, he'd been in a much stronger position to be able to negotiate now, and Newcastle wouldn't be able to demand the fee that they are and effectively trying to price him out of the market. Reminds me a little bit of Harry Kane. You remember when 2018 he signed a 6-year deal before the 2018 World Cup, which tied him to Spurs in a way that he then couldn't get out of when he tried to leave for Manchester City a couple of years before he went to Bayern. Players of that calibre at that level should not be signing 6-year contracts, at least not without some sort of break clause or a release clause put in there that reflects the fact that if they do want that flexibility to be able to get out, then so be it. But I just don't think Newcastle have done anything wrong at all. They on the other hand, they committed one of their best talents to a long-term contract. They have continued to pay him. They've been very, very clear, as far as I'm aware, with their stance has been right from the get-go, you're not going anywhere, you are not for sale, we are not interested in selling you this summer. And yet he's done everything he possibly can now to try and get out because, as I say, he's been badly advised, I think. And now the onus, I think, is on Liverpool. I think if they want him, they've got to pay what Newcastle are asking, or at least get a lot closer, and not make this sort of one bid and back away, because that was clearly designed to put the sort of ball in the players' court to say, right, you now need to put pressure on the club to lower the valuation. Well, he can't really do much more than he has. He's really burnt all of his bridges at Newcastle. So the onus really now is back on Liverpool to say, right, here we are with an improved offer, let's get this sorted. And significantly, give Newcastle enough time to then go and spend that money to find one or, well, they need 2 strikers, don't they, if he goes.
I wonder if the fact that Arsenal have gone out and splashed late on and Eze maybe just make Liverpool go, do you know what?
Yeah.
We need to do this.
We need to make sure.
We need to make sure at any price that we're getting our guy, and because we're in for a hell of a fight, which they are, possibly with City and Arsenal. So I agree with what James is saying. I mean, you've just sometimes as a player you've got to think for yourselves.
Right.
I mean, there's advice and there's advice, and sometimes as a player you've got to take that responsibility. And we've all been through transfers, and some we liked and some we didn't. Some were dragged out. Some will not, and sometimes it's a hostile atmosphere, but you've got to walk back into that training ground and you should be training and you should be keeping your chin up and doing things properly. And people will tell you things. Some agents will tell you and sell you the earth, but you've got to make these. You're a grown man. You're not 17, you're not 18. You've got to make good, conscious, quality professional decisions for yourself, and then just see how it tumbles out in the long run. It's difficult to see if Newcastle dig in, how he walks back into the dressing room, and more importantly, how he walks back out onto that park at St James's Park and play to the best of his ability in front of a crowd that I have no doubt completely turned on him.
Absolutely.
That is not easy for any player, even the best of players. If you walk out in front of 60,000, 70,000 and they are booing you for 90 minutes, I'm telling you now, that affects everybody, right? So it's not a good scenario around, and I think unfortunately now, whether it's strong arm or not, I think the best thing is for Liverpool to spend the money, get the player. But again, as James said, Eddie Howe and Newcastle, they're really drinking at the last chance saloon in terms of who the hell they're going to bring in, because they lost Callum Wilson as well.
Monday, of course, sees Newcastle against Liverpool. Inevitably, there were questions about maybe more new faces to join Liverpool. Here's Arne Slot.
I've always said maybe having 2 per position is ideal, but I prefer less than more, because you have to disappoint so many players every single time for them not even being in a squad, let alone not playing. So So yeah, really happy with the squad. But as always, if we think we can improve in a certain position and there's a player available that can really make us better, which you could see with Giovanni Leoni, it's then this club has always shown that they bring these players in.
Disease, isn't he?
What's that? What?
He's got the Guardiola disease from the summer when he said, "Oh, I've got too many players." And then he was moaning he didn't have enough players when his squad wasn't big enough. I mean, Arne Slot there is sort of contradicting himself. He said, "I like 2 players for every position, but I think having less is more is better."
I was just laughing in my head that if you had a middle name that would say Stephen, that'd be quite a top. That's where my mind was during that press conference.
Wissa to Newcastle then. Is that going to happen, James? Will that have an influence on Isak?
Yeah, well, I mean, this is the irony, isn't it? You've got a striker who's desperate to get out of Newcastle and effectively going on strike, and then you've got a striker at Brentford who's going on strike to go to Newcastle. So it's sort of the irony of the whole situation is that's where we are. Look, I mean, I think Wissa will probably end up going to Newcastle. You know, as we've already said, they need a striker anyway, even if Isak stays. But yeah, look, I mean, I would expect things to move after Newcastle play Liverpool. You know, everybody on all sides probably wants to get that fixture out of the way, and then of course they've got a week to negotiate before the window closes. So I think their plan, I know what Arne Slot was saying there, but I think their plan was always for Ekitike and Isak for the simple reason that, I mean, Isak's a fantastic footballer, don't get me wrong, but can he play 3 games in a week every week? Probably not. I mean, you know, Newcastle have had to manage his fitness quite carefully. There have been times when he's not trained or he's missed games or he's been taken off early to sort of protect him because he has got that kind of checkered injury history. And I think with the number of games that Liverpool are going to play this season, I suspect that the plan was obviously for Isak to be their main number 9, but then that they rotate him out for Ekitike, and he probably plays 15, maybe 20 matches himself, and he gets to develop and they get to protect Isak. So yeah, I think they want to get that Monday's game out of the way, and then I think it will move from there.
Wissa, get you excited to Newcastle?
Well, he's no Alexander Isak certainly at his best, but I think kind of given where Newcastle find themselves and who is maybe still available, Wissa certainly is an upgrade on all those other names. The challenge for Newcastle is, and I think Newcastle will dig their heels in, and rightly so, in terms of the price for Alexander Isak. But now, if you're Brentford, all of a sudden you're thinking, hold on, you're getting 150 million. Now that price of Wissa goes up. And they're right to dig their heels in as a result. So while it's post the Newcastle-Liverpool game, it's only, a week left in the window. It's going to be a week where everybody's jacking up their prices.
Good time for Keith Andrews to take over at Brentford, isn't it?
Yes.